Vegas, Nevada. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the middleweight champion, was making the 11th defense of his crown against Thomas Hitman Hearns, the WBC super welterweight champion who was attempting to win a third world title. Although the fight lasted just 3 rounds, many have called Hagler versus Hearns the best 8 minutes in boxing history. The Hagler-Hearns fight was one of those rare occasions in sport where the event surpassed the hype. And the man who called the fight from ringside that night, ABC commentator Al Michaels, is standing by live at our studios in Los Angeles. And Al, every now and then we get to comment on something that is really extra special. Did you have any idea going into that fight on April the 15th, 1985, that it would turn out to be the event that it was?
Frank, I think you summed it up perfectly. Everybody expected it to be a great fight. Rarely does a fight like that exceed expectations. But this one certainly did. And I recall about 2 minutes into the first round, sitting there at ringside and having a flash thought, and I'm thinking to myself, are these guys really fighting, or are they making a movie? Is this some sort of sequel to Rocky? The first round was that good. Now, to put it in perspective, pre-fight, going back to just before Hagler-Hearns, for the most part, the experts were about evenly divided. Those who favored Hearns felt that he had a longer reach, he had more speed, and he was closer to the prime of his career at age 26 than Hagler was at near 31 years of age. Those who favored Hagler felt that he was a true middleweight, that would work to his advantage, that he has a devastating punch, and that he had a great chin. And all of those factors came into play. So without further ado, let's go back to Monday night, April 15th, 1985 in Las Vegas, the way I called it that evening along with analyst Al Bernstein. And here we go, round one. Hagler, right off the bat, attempting to get inside. He'd love to be able to pin Hearns on the ropes if he can.
A more aggressive start by Hagler. Look at him, right for the body. Marvin Hagler only wants the body. He bangs Marvin. Oh, Hearns may have hurt him with the right hand.
Hearns another right. Hearns hits him with an uppercut. Hagler, he's hurt. Hagler is stunned. Hearns got inside. Hit him with a right uppercut. Marvin ties him up.
Marvin Hagler is still hurt.
So it was Hagler coming out like a bullet. A good left by Hagler, but Hearns didn't flinch. Marvin going for the body. Wild first round.
Wow, what a shock. And it was Hagler who initiated it, not Thomas Hearns.
On a left by Hagler. Hearns comes back. Another right. That one stunned Hearns. What a first minute of the fight.
Tommy Hearns has been able to drop that right hand in, and it has hurt Hagler, a surprise to many people.
Another right hand from Hearns. Hearns moving. Hagler still pursuing. Comes in with a right. Missing with a left hook.
Here's where I believe Hagler should turn to righty. He could block that right hand easier, and he would land his own left hook.
Hearns with a devastating punch. Swelling near Hagler's left eye. Again, Tommy trying to come inside the hands of Hagler.
Low blow by Hearns. Hagler's still looking for the body.
A right by Hagler. Good right got in. He has Hearns where he'd love to keep him on the ropes, but Tommy comes off easily. Another good right by Hearns.
Hagler is now shaking those right hands off, though, Al. He was stunned a little early, and he's normally a slow starter.
He's also bleeding. Hagler is cut. Hagler is cut. Bridge of the nose.
Hagler hitting him low. He is banging the body well. He is taking shots to the head.
He blocks that right. Hearns tries to come in with the uppercut, and Hagler ties him up with a minute to go in a wild first round. I thought it started from the bridge of the nose originally, but blood all over the face of Hagler here in round one. But Hagler has him on the ropes. Hagler working on him. Hagler relentless, but Hearns trying to box his way out. Half a minute to go in round one. How far can this one go? Not very far at his pace.
This is where Hagler wants him, but Hearns counterpunching off those ropes fairly effectively.
Tremendous first round. Hagler pinning him to the ropes. Working on him, but Hearns uppercutting again. Hagler bloody. A tremendous, sensational first round as Hearns gets hurt. Hearns got stunned. Hagler was stunned early in the round. Great first round. Wow. Incredible.
What's wrong?
The greatest contribution to the human race, and it rides like a rock.
What you need are Monroe Gasmatic shocks.
Shocks?
Yep, they'll really improve your ride. Monroe shocks and struts are the next best thing to the wheel.
How do you know?
I'm the ride expert. Besides, Monroe guarantees you the best ride ever.
So it's in writing. Oh, wow.
Cast in stone.
Great ride.
That's why America rides Monroe.
Don't win nothing for practice. Don't win nothing if you don't.
All right, let's have it.
After a long day of hard knocks,
That's right.
head for the beer that goes down smooth as a mountain stream.
Boy, here, this one don't buck so hard.
Head for the mountains of Bush beer.
Fixing this water damage will cost $1,200. Could I have prevented it?
You could with Thompson's Water Seal.
This water damage is going to run $750. What would have stopped it?
Prevent water damage with Thompson's Water Seal. Simply brush Thompson's on wood, brick, or concrete, and it penetrates to form a barrier water can't get past, even when driven by 98-mile-per-hour winds.
This time, I'm going to protect my new deck with Thompson's Water Seal. A great defense against repair expense.
I'm 80 years old, and I love Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
Brave adults are coming forward to challenge the notion that Frosted Flakes is just a kid's cereal.
I eat them, I love them, and I don't care who knows.
With that extra crunch and milk, that frosting just right, they have a taste adults can love every bit as much as kids.
Go ahead, Shirley. You can do it.
I love them, thank you.
Oh, what more can you say? Frosted Flakes have the taste adults have grown to love. They're great.
Top young fighters slug it out at the U.S. Amateur Boxing Championships live. Plus,
And they're off.
the road to the Triple Crown continues with live coverage of both the Florida Derby and the Santa Anita Derby. All on ABC's Wide World of Sports next Saturday.
Well, the first round lived up to all the hype, and then some. Round two now.
Oh.
The club, left hand by Hagler.
They said this fight would be determined on heart and the good chin. Right now, that's exactly what it's being determined on. Both men have been hurt. You can throw the strategy out the window right now.
A wild first round. Hearns again trying to uppercut. Hearns trying to box. Moving, slipping off the rope. Coming back and trying to land that right.
They are yelling, keep boxing, Tommy, from his corner, and that looks like what he's going to try and do in this fight.
Hearns off balance. His foot was stepped on, not close to a knockdown.
Excuse me, Al. Hagler turns righty. I think this could be a key moment in this fight.
For the first time, Hagler switching, gets in with a left hand. This round sort of the way people anticipated the first round might go. Another right hand stuns Hearns. The crowd, of course, emphatic over every punch that's thrown. Hagler, despite that weak disadvantages, has been able to get into Hearns more so I think most people expected.
For one simple reason. Good left hook by Hagler. He took the best Hearns could offer, and he did come in. He's getting through that right hand, even though he's getting hit with it.
Halfway through round two.
Hagler has fought most of this round as a righty. Now he switches southpaw and lands. Not as effective as a righty as I thought, but now as a southpaw, the jab lands well.
That right jab. Hagler coming in with a left. Richard Steele saying, punch your way out, punch your way out.
A key element now is Hagler is working when he's on the inside. He's not just holding. He is working the body of Tommy Hearns. Boy, Hearns looks awkward, and his legs look like they're not there.
A little rubbery here in round two. Tommy, though, fluid and moving. Trying to get inside. Again, the cut opens up over Hagler's forehead. And the blood begins to trickle down. Hagler working inside, now up top. Half a minute to go in round two.
What a left.
Hearns trading with him. Hagler comes back to the right or left, and another right. He has Hearns in trouble on the ropes.
from there. Goes to the body.
Hagler throws low blows. Marvin Hagler wants to turn this into an alley war, and he's done it. Another low blow. Richard Steele may take points away soon, but will it matter?
Second round coming to an end. Hagler bloody, but very much unbound. End of round 2.
Move off to one side or the other, okay? You're not boxing to being out here. Try to work on letting them make with the left and going over here and then coming back with the right.
You got to put up there.
Shut up, just boxing. Still in boxing. Come on, let's get the second man and relax like nothing in the color zone. Let's think careful. Let's box it. When you get through what you got, move off to one side or the other. You're getting hit on tail end punches. You understand?
You can hear Manny Stewart talking to Hearns. They work on the cut of Hagler.
And the Petronelli's good cut men. Goody and Pat have done an excellent job on the cuts of Hagler. What a shock that that man initiated this war right from the beginning. And you know what? I thought he would do well as a righty. He has done better as a southpaw, and he may stay at that.
Again, Stewart telling Hearns to box. As you say, though, Hagler turning it into a street fight.
Well, he turns righty. He wants it to be a street fight. Listen, Marvin Hagler has been rough inside. He's thrown some low blows. He has thrown some elbows.
Don't push.
But you know what? Now the right is getting there, but it's not hurting Hagler. We've got our answer, I think, to some extent. Tommy has been hard-pressed to hurt him with that right. Stunned him early, but not in the last round or two.
Very early. Had him stunned, has him cut. But it was Hagler doing the damage in round 2.
And now, just as we thought might happen, Tommy Hearns was hurt early, so he is boxing. Now, he has good boxing skills. He did this against Sugar Ray. Can Hagler get to him in this posture?
Some people thought, as he again becomes off balance, some thought that if Hearns stayed outside and stayed on his bicycle, it would become a dull fight with Marvin chasing him.
But Marvin has been able to corner him, and when Marvin gets in the corner, he is roughhousing him well.
Again, Hagler is all bloodied. Time is called by Richard Steele to send Hagler over to the ring doctor. He's calling the ring doctor in. The last thing in the world Hagler wants is the fight to be stopped. The doctor looks at it. Back comes Hagler with a wild left hand. It has to be impeding his vision with the right eye. You never know it, though. Tremendous right. Hearns appears rubbery. He appeared that way in the second round.
You know, Richard Steele is breaking these fighters very quickly. That's uncharacteristic of him. It's hurting Hagler because he wants to work inside. Hearns is smiling, but he's taking shots.
Another right hand. Hearns turns his back, takes another right. Hearns in deep trouble again. Hearns is down. Hearns is down in the third round and on his back. And he's not going to beat the count. I don't believe. Tommy Hearns tries to get up, and
They've got to stop this fight.
Does he get up? He just doesn't know. He can't continue. It's Hagler, full of blood. Blood, no doubt, impeding his vision, stopping him in the third round after Hearns almost ended it on a first-round knockout. It didn't go very far, but it was a beauty.
So there it was, the 8 minutes of fury. I know one of the things Marvin Hagler had said before the fight, it will come down to who can take the best shot, who can take the most punishment. Indeed, it did. And there were no complaints, obviously, amongst the crowd of 15,000 as they left ringside. And if ever 8 minutes were worth $500, the price of a ticket, those were the 8. So Hagler winning it almost 2 years ago. Alex Wallow, who was in Norfolk today, was with me in Las Vegas that night as well. And I recall, Alex, that you were amongst those who felt that Tommy Hearns had the advantage going in.
Al, I was shocked at the way the fight turned out. I thought Thomas would use his boxing skills, fight a tactical fight, move around the ring, and perhaps score a decision over marvelous Marvin Hagler. Instead, Thomas came out flat-footed, tried to shoot the right hand. Marvin walked through the punch, took the punch. The first one was a good shot. But after that, Marvin's body punching and his aggression just were more than Thomas could handle. It was a result that really surprised me, and a result that, in my mind at least, ended the debate about who is the outstanding pound-for-pound fighter in the world at that time and today. It is unquestionably, I think, marvelous Marvin Hagler, who joins us now from his training camp in Palm Springs. And Marvin, could you share with us, please, your recollections 2 years after the fact about that night in Las Vegas?
Well, it was an exciting fight. It was the highlight of my career at that moment. I thought it was a tremendous fight. Like I said, it was war. This fight here is war, too, with Leonard. I feel as though I got a lot better. Hearns is doing the same thing which Leonard is trying to do, watching from the Duran fight, which people said that I didn't look very good. I gave Duran one of his best whooping that nobody's ever gave him. And with Thomas, sure, Thomas had the good right hand, left hook. He tried to do the same thing. He tried to outbox, tried to use lateral movement, but I took away his legs, took away his punching power, and then he belonged to me.
Marvin, if there are any questions about your right to be considered one of the great fighters of all time, I think that fight answered it. Did it answer any questions you might have had about yourself deep down and your abilities?
No, it found out that I'm a gladiator, and whatever it takes for me to go, I'm not a pretty boy in there. I don't worry about my face or anything like that. All the cuts, once I get back to the corner, I'll let my trainer and manager handle that. Only time that I've been cut is by headbutts or something like that. This here was either elbow or either a shoulder. It was not from a punch. I've never been cut from a punch, so I'm not afraid of that.
Marvin called his fight with Thomas Hearns war. He says his fight with Sugar Ray Leonard will be war too. We'll be back to talk about that confrontation in a moment.
Whatever you want to lock in, lock out, lock up, or lock down, remember, master locks are tough under tough conditions, tough under pressure, tough under fire.
Know what I'm doing? Feeding my lawn. You know what I'm doing now? I'm feeding my lawn. Yep, I'm still feeding my lawn. And look at my thick green lawn. It loves what it's eating. New Hyponex Lawn Fertilizer. Hyponex is higher in essential nutrients than the leading national brand. And its time-release formula keeps your lawn greener longer. Guaranteed. What am I doing now?
Feeding your lawn.
No, I'm feeding my dog.
Try new Hyponex lawn products today.
What a hill.
Yeah. Get the brakes done?
Uh-huh.
You Midas-sized them?
I didn't think it mattered.
Didn't matter? Halfway up the Himalayas and it didn't matter?
Midas-size your brakes and get it right the first time. Then they're backed by the dependable, unbeatable Midas guarantee.
I should have Midas-sized.
Ah, but you didn't, did you, buckaroo?
A Midas Spring Breakathon. Come in now and have your brakes Midas-sized.
I never realized the world was so full of hazards. That's why there's a company like MetLife, because sometimes things do get out of control. Hey! That's why over 43 million people look to Met to be there when things go wrong. That's why you should get Met. It pays.
Tomorrow, world-class pro skiers go head-to-head in a dynamic competition. It's the U.S. Professional Skiing Championships. Then on ABC's Wide World of Sports, a race stretching over 1,000 miles across Alaska's vast frozen wilderness. A course as treacherous as it is breathtaking. Witness the amazing challenge of the Iditarod sled dog race. Plus, top professional pairs skate at the World Challenge of Champions. Break away tomorrow with ABC Sports.
Marvin, on Monday, a week from Monday, you're going to step in the ring in the richest prize fight in history. You're going to make $12 million. Has that kind of money taken away your edge, that motivation, that bitterness, that hunger that is so much a part of your game plan?
No, I really don't think about the money. I think I've got a lot better over the years, and I'm anxious to prove that. I was never hurt in that Thomas Hearns fight, and I feel to show that, too. This man would have to knock me out with that ring post, because I'm not going anywhere. I'm in better shape than when I fought Thomas Hearns, and I'm willing to show that Leonard can't stop me. I'm in better, I'm meaner. Just looking at that fight get me all psyched again. There's no way that this man here can beat me. If I want to, I believe I can outbox Leonard. But whatever it takes to get the job done, that's what I'm planning on doing. The money has nothing to do with this fight.
Have you done anything special to prepare for this fight?
Just got meaner, trained harder, and ready to go. Coming at you, Leonard.
A lot of people who are trying to find a way for Ray Leonard to win this fight say that you just don't have as much left as you did at your peak. Are you past your peak?
I like that when they said that. Thomas Hearns called me old man. Mugabe called me old man. All these people that call me old man, I put their lights out. You got to realize Ray is only 30 years old. Tommy was 26. And so Ray's only 2 behind me. At the time, Tommy was less than that. And Mugabe was younger, too. And look what I'm doing to these young boys. I'm showing you that age, you get better with age.
Marvin, you sound like you're ready to get in the ring today. Good luck to you. We'll look for you a week from Monday. Now back to Frank and Becky in New York.
Finally, Hagler and Leonard. They've been saying for years it had to happen. Now it's going to happen.
You know, Sugar Ray Leonard has said we belong in the ring together, and they, of course, will get their chance, Frank, on April 6th. It's time once again now for our Wide World of Sports Athlete of the Week award. But this week, instead of an individual achievement, we have chosen to salute a team effort.
ABC's Wide World of Sports Athlete of the Week is brought to you by Acura, Legend and Integra. Precision-crafted automobiles exclusively at your Acura dealer.
Last Saturday at the NCAA Wrestling Championships, all eyes were focused on Dan Gable and his Iowa Hawkeyes as they went after an unprecedented 10th consecutive NCAA title. Standing in their way was a talented and determined Iowa State team, led by their dynamic head coach, 27-year-old Jim Gibbons. When the championship round began, it came down to a duel match between these fierce interstate rivals. Iowa State was in the lead and needed only a victory to clinch the title. It seemed only fitting that a head-to-head match between Iowa State's Billy Kelly and Iowa's Brad Penrith would decide the championship.
Very, very close. Billy Kelly from Iowa State has the match locked up. He's holding his opponent on his back. He'll get 3 points. There's a ball! And there's the team championship for Iowa State.
Iowa State fans rejoiced in winning the championship for the first time in 10 years. Everybody else celebrated Iowa's loss, and some saw it as a changing of the guard. The celebrating continued back in Ames on Monday when the Cyclones returned to campus to a hero's welcome. But Coach Gibbons admitted winning the championship wasn't easy.
But I tell you what, we've been through war. We came out on top.
Iowa proved it was up to the challenge, and for their achievement as a team, we salute them as ABC's Wide World of Sports Athlete of the Week.
Today, he defends his USBA title against former world champion Carlos Santos. Also today, the tension continues to build for Monday night's Hagler-Leonard showdown. And you'll hear from both the champion and the challenger as they wind up their training here in Las Vegas.
We are live at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, where the sun has poked through the billowy clouds of the desert to provide brightness and sunshine for this afternoon's championship match between Donald Curry and Carlos Santos. It has been a little wet and rainy here overnight and all this morning. Very close to fight time indeed. Now it's starting to dry up. Temperature of 54 degrees, still kind of breezy for the fighters and the spectators, and that has kept the crowd down here in the stadium behind Caesars Palace. The boxers themselves will be protected for this fight with the canopy overhead, and of course that also in place for the big fight on Monday night between Hagler and Leonard. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Ryan, and amidst some April showers we've had, spring fever is still in the air. College basketball has just wrapped up its season, and in our first hour, we'll take a special look at what this time of year means out in the heartland of Hoosier country. And Major League Baseball opens its new season on Monday. By way of a preview, Dick Stockton will report on why everyone's out to get the New York Mets. He'll also show us the pitch that's getting everyone out, the split-finger fastball. Pat Summerall will set the stage for another of the great rites of spring, the Masters, which also begins this week at the Augusta National. But the big story in Las Vegas this week is what they're billing as the super fight, the matchup between marvelous Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard. The excitement has been building all week long. The marquees are lit, and the fans were waiting as the boxers arrived earlier in the week. Sugar Ray Leonard on Monday and met with all of the usual pomp and circumstance, attended to Caesars Palace. The Roman centurions and hundreds of fans were out to greet the man who is attempting one of the most dramatic comebacks in boxing history. The champion trying to stop that comeback notion, Marvin Hagler, likewise greeted with a huge number of his fans. And one of the biggest press conferences, perhaps in sports history. More than 1,100 members of the media are here from all over the world. And they heard the final words from the two fighters here just yesterday. Well, joining me here is our special guest, a big fight fan, John Madden. And John, you've been here all week watching all of this excitement. It must remind you a little bit, since they're calling it the Super Fight, of the Super Bowl.
It reminds me a lot of the Super Bowl. But I think there's nothing better than a fight scene and the week of the fight scene, and because everyone has an idea on who's going to win, and you don't really have to be an expert. It's easy to be an expert. There's only two guys. You know, it's not like football. You have to say, well, what if they zone or they blitz, or what are they going to do with the three wide receivers against the nickel? Or the basketball, you know, the 4-and-1 and the back doors and all that stuff. There's just two guys in their shorts and tennis shoes. You know, and you just pick one, you like one, and you just go back and forth and watch them. And I think the whole scene is a great scene.
Well, we're going to find out what John Madden thinks is going to happen on Monday night a little later in our program. Thanks, John. We're going to look forward, more importantly, to your conversation with marvelous Marvin Hagler. But first, Bob Knight made some championship history of his own this past week. And when we come back, we'll look at the climax to what has turned out to be the year of the Hoosier, when Sports Saturday continues here on CBS.
CBS Sports Saturday is sponsored by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Aftershave Skin Conditioner by Menon. And by Pella Windows and Doors.
Leonard is now the main attraction in Las Vegas, but last week, the talk of the town was the local basketball team, the Runnin' Rebels of UNLV, who were honored with a parade and cheered by an estimated 18,000 fans who saluted the squad on its return from the Final Four in New Orleans. They loved their Rebs here in Las Vegas and appreciated the fact that even though they didn't win it all, they did so well down there in New Orleans. Of course, the favored Rebels lost to Indiana a week ago in the national semifinals. And then on Monday night, the Hoosiers in Syracuse went down to the wire in a classic.
Smart takes the shot, and the Hoosiers with 3 seconds go ahead.
On Tuesday, it was back home again in Indiana, where the Hoosiers received a warm welcome from fans who braved the cold to greet their conquering heroes. From there, it was off to Assembly Hall, the site of so many victories. This time, the Hoosiers enjoyed some of the spoils as an overflow crowd showed its appreciation.
This team will show you that when you've got some problems of your own and when things aren't going really well for you, you can tighten your belt a little bit and get the ball to keep smart and things will come out all right.
It's been a very exciting 4 years for me, and to be able to cap it all off, like Todd says, by hanging another banner, that's a dream come true. We love you!
As a high school player, Steve Alford was Indiana's Mr. Basketball 4 years ago, a major honor in the state whose mystical relationship with the sport has been documented this year in a best-selling book and a major motion picture. Our Gary Paul Gates recently discovered that the Hoosier spirit is alive and well along the back roads of Indiana.
Sunday morning, in a state where the other religion is basketball. This is Counts, a small and obscure farming community tucked away in the cornfields of northern Indiana.
But Counts still has its own high school, and that makes it part of a vanishing breed. A throwback to a more innocent era when small country schools formed the roots of Indiana basketball. And in this year's tournament, the Counts Mustangs won a division championship for the first time ever in their long history. And that victory swept this town into a state of delirium known as Hoosier hysteria.
The basketball team is generally the center of the school, and therefore when you win something like this sectional, it's a whole community accomplishment, and the whole community bask in the glory of it all.
What made this victory so glorious is that the last time the Mustangs made it this far to the sectional finals was 30 long years ago, and then they lost. This year's Cinderella team was given a special incentive. On the eve of the tournament, Coach Gaff turned to Hollywood's version of Indiana basketball for a touch of inspiration.
We did go and see the movie Hoosiers, and I think that was a real positive thing for our kids, and it gave them sort of a feeling that it's happened before, and it was a plus.
On the way down to sectionals that night, we went by this farm, and there was a bent hoop, just like on Hoosiers, and there's two little kids out there playing around with the basketball. I said, it kind of reminds you of the movie, because it did. It looked just like it. And I think that inspired us a little bit.
But life does not imitate art, and only in the movies do we find Hollywood endings. After winning the sectional, Couts moved up to the regional level and was eliminated. But the end of the Hoosiers' dream did not take away from the thrill that these high school kids gave to the farmers and townspeople who live in Couts and gather each morning at their favorite coffee shop to talk about their favorite subject.
Let me ask you this. Is what happened in Couts this year an example of what the rest of the country hears about when they hear Hoosier hysteria?
Oh, yeah. A lot of just little kids even. They all got involved. Super. That's what you want. Spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
When you see Cabbage Patch dolls with Couts cheerleader uniforms on, the whole town's nuts.
Of course, all basketball conversations in Indiana eventually get around to Coach Bobby Knight, the state's most controversial citizen and the subject of a book that has become a big bestseller.
Probably before I read it, I probably would have liked to have my boy play for him, but after I read it, I'm not too sure I would.
Really?
But he's a good coach. Shows the true Bobby Knight, I guess, from what you understand.
True Bobby Knight, yeah.
I know he's not happy about it, but...
Hey, Bobby Knight's a nice guy.
Well, I got to ask you, as a visitor from out of town, from out of state, what is it about Indiana basketball that makes it so crazy and mad and wonderful?
Everybody's still they love basketball here. I mean, we had the fans then, we got them now, nothing's changed.
Yeah, that's great.
It's the same.
If you look out on a basketball floor around town, they're dribbling basketballs almost from the time they get up and start walking. Everybody's involved.
It makes an impression on you. It's all tradition.
There are those who claim that tradition isn't what it used to be, that the decline of the farms has taken the edge off the down-home roots of Hoosier basketball. But what happened in Couts this month is convincing proof that nothing has really changed in the small country towns of Indiana, where basketball is not a game so much as a way of life, a religious crusade. For CBS Sports, I'm Gary Paul Gates.
Still ahead, all eyes are on Sugar Ray Leonard, who is putting the finishing touches on his training for Monday night's super fight against marvelous Marvin Hagler. John Madden and Gil Clancy will help preview that showdown. Speaking of fights, the New York Mets had their share en route to a world championship, and Dick Stockton will show us why they've got plenty of punch left when we continue.
The game Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's. Win a McDLT, Coca-Cola, or $1 million. Collect St. Charles Place, States and Virginia Avenues, and win a dream vacation. Collect these for a $250,000 home. Hello, over $40 million in cash and prizes. Collect the right game pieces or win instantly. So play Monopoly. Do not pass go. Go directly to McDonald's.
There are many ways to end the paperwork overload. You can blow it off, dump it on someone else, or blow it away for good. But the best solution is Radio Shack's high-speed, high-capacity Tandy 1000SX. It's PC compatible and comes with a monitor and a 20-megabyte hard disk that stores over 5,000 pages of information. The highly acclaimed Tandy 1000SX, a complete hard disk system for only $15.99 at Radio Shack.
The superstars are back. Bird and the Celtics, Barkley and the Sixers. Then it's Magic and the Lakers, Alex English and the Nuggets. The NBA returns tomorrow on CBS Sports.
Back here in Las Vegas, we await the boxing action with the sun looking a little better as we go along here. And meanwhile, lots of other news to report to you today. In baseball news, word out of Boston that Roger Clemens, the outstanding Red Sox pitching star, has neared agreement with a new contract with the Red Sox and has reported to Florida. Here's what he had to say this morning.
And then today I expressed my feelings that I'm ready to pitch and I want to get started right away so I can get off to another good start.
Well, in other baseball news, former New York Mets outfielder George Foster today claimed that he warned the Mets about a drug problem last season, but he refused to identify the players he says were involved. Still, the biggest story in Major League Baseball this week broke in St. Petersburg, Florida, when it was revealed that Mets ace Dwight Gooden, the 1985 Cy Young Award winner, tested positive for cocaine use and would be admitted to a New York clinic for drug rehabilitation. Gooden is expected to miss at least 2 months, with his rehabilitation program, and without him in their starting rotation, the Mets are not as strong a favorite to repeat, especially since every team in the National League is looking to gun down the cocky defending champions. But as Dick Stockton reports, this team by nature will not go down without a fight.
It was only a few months ago that the New York Mets won the 7th game of the World Series, beating the Boston Red Sox right here in Shea Stadium. The Mets won 116 games, and no doubt were the best team in baseball. Theirs was a style of flair and showmanship that New Yorkers loved, but other fans and players hated.
I can't stand the Mets, and the reason why is because they're an arrogant bunch of slobs.
They were very arrogant at times and almost wanted to rub it in your face.
I hate the Mets because they're obnoxious.
Gary Carter's one of my closest friends, but I don't appreciate when he stands out there in front of the crowd and incites the crowd.
If they would have played in our era, they may have had some sore ribs probably with some of the pitchers in the National League when I played there.
All they do all year is brag about how good they are, and yet the reality of the situation is that they're just bums.
It seems baseball fans had no trouble making up their minds about the Mets last season. They were just one of those teams. You either loved them or you hated them. Whether it was their on-the-field aggressiveness or their off-the-field mischief, the Mets were curtain calls, hugs, and high fives. But for their fans who couldn't get enough, the Mets even obliged with a music video.
We got the teamwork to make the dream work. Let's go.
All this celebration. Game of the World Series, beating the Boston Red Sox right here in Shea Stadium. The Mets won 116 games, and no doubt were the best team in baseball. Theirs was a style of flair and showmanship that New Yorkers loved, but other fans and players hated.
I can't stand the Mets, and the reason why is because they're an arrogant bunch of slobs.
They were very arrogant at times and almost wanted to rub it in your face.
I hate the Mets because they're obnoxious.
Gary Carter's one of my closest friends, but I don't appreciate when he stands out there in front of the crowd and incites the crowd.
If they would have played in our era, they may have had some sore ribs probably with some of the pitchers in the National League when I played there.
All they do all year is brag about how good they are, and yet the reality of the situation is that they're just bums.
It seems baseball fans had no trouble making up their minds about the Mets last season. They were just one of those teams. You either loved them or you hated them. Whether it was their on-the-field aggressiveness or their off-the-field mischief, the Mets were anything but dull. To New Yorkers, they were colorful, but to many outside the Big Apple, they were hot dogs. Rivals wondered, did they have to be so arrogant? All they saw was a seemingly endless series of curtain calls, hugs, and high fives. But for their fans who couldn't get enough, the Mets even obliged with a music video.
We got the teamwork to make the dream work. Let's go.
All this celebration led to the rest of the league trying to knock the Mets off their pedestal. And when push came to shove, the Mets simply wouldn't back down.
And there goes Davis. This pitch is swung on and missed a throw down, not in time, and Davis with the stolen base. And now look out, and now a little scramble as Ray Knight takes a swing at Eric Davis, and boy, all heck is broken loose down at third base. And Ray Knight certainly started that one.
As their reputation as the fighting Mets grew, so did the number of confrontations on the field and off. 4 Mets found trouble with local police in a Houston bar, and it seems that you can't pick up a newspaper without reading about one Met or another involved in controversy. None of this fazed the Mets' feisty manager, Davey Johnson, whose team scrapped its way through the postseason.
You know, a lot of people don't like the Mets because of what they perceive to be an arrogant attitude, but brother, they can play some baseball. We're in the 7th game, 8-5 Mets, 9th inning, 2 out, nobody on, the pitch, swing and a miss, and the Mets have won it. The Mets are the champions of baseball.
Met players say they wouldn't be labeled as arrogant if they hadn't been so successful.
People were singling us out as a team because we were winning and blowing the league away. But, you know, if you look at it, there's other players in the league that high-five and get in their Cadillac when they hit a home run and hot dog it and take curtain calls. I mean, it's all around the league now. The game has changed in that respect.
As far as the arrogance and cockiness, I don't think it's there. It's just that we've got a great ball club, and we just go out there and display a great deal of confidence.
As some opponents see it, the Mets have earned their right to act as they please.
I'm sure that there are a lot of people around the league that don't really care about the way that they do it, but the bottom line is that they won, and that's what you have to look at.
You can't get that way. You can't be that way without winning, though. Being a successful organization, winning over the last 3 years like they did, they worked hard for it. They deserve it. Act the way they want to until somebody can prove them different. They are the champ, and somebody can take it away. They'll be the same way, I guarantee you.
Maybe the Mets are misunderstood, but champions often come across as being arrogant.
Namath was pretty good at that sort of thing. You know, you talk to Michael Jordan today, and there are those who may not know him. They might feel he's somewhat arrogant. There are some really special people out there with some special talents, and it's very difficult for them not to be. When you get 25 guys feeling that way in the same place at the same time, you've got something real special. Arrogance, it's often referred to, but I don't think that's necessarily bad.
Now, in addition to the Gooden incident, the Mets have also lost star reliever Roger McDowell for at least 2 months while he recovers from a hernia operation. It's enough to make the Mets wish they hadn't let go of a promising but erratic young right-hander they had a few seasons ago. His name, Mike Scott. Since leaving the Mets, Scott learned a new pitch, went on to win last year's Cy Young Award. When we come back, Dick Stockton will take a look at that new pitch, the split-finger fastball, and how it's changing the game.
Gimmick pitches are nothing new to baseball. Carl Hubble won more than 250 games with his screwball. There have also been variations of the old spitball. Some have mastered the knuckleball. Almost everything has been tried.
Steve Hamilton pitching. Oh, there's the volley floater, and it's ball back. And Munson takes the catch. Holy cow, what a play by Thurman Munson.
But it's a pitch perfected by reliever Bruce Sutter that's frustrated batters for nearly a decade. And Sutter doesn't mind sharing the secret of his split-fingered success.
Well, I don't spread my fingers as far as I think most people think. I throw my fastball like that, and I only spread them that far and keep my thumb on the back seam. And really, I just try to throw the ball as hard as I can. And the ball slips out, and it gets that downward rotation. It's hard to explain how it all happened, but it came pretty easy for me.
Although arm troubles have sidelined the right-hander, Sutter recognizes what the pitch has done for his career.
It made my whole career. Without the split finger, I would have never made it to the big leagues. I mean, I was just a mediocre pitcher. And with the split finger, it changed my whole career around.
Giants manager Roger Craig is the man most associated with the pitch. In 1984, he taught it to Jack Morris, who led the Tigers to a world title. Craig says it's a pitch anyone can learn.
It's been an effective pitch, and I've always been a pitching coach where I can teach you a slider, or you a curveball, or you a screwball, whatever. But I think this pitch, I can teach it to almost anybody.
Craig turned Mike Krukow of the Giants into a 20-game winner last year, and the Astros' Mike Scott won a Cy Young relying heavily on that pitch. Now Craig's former pupil is an opponent.
I guess if he could look back, he probably wouldn't do it again if he knew that he'd have the Giant job the next year and we'd be playing against him. But I was just fortunate that he wasn't working for anybody at the time, and he took the time to teach me to pitch.
Scott's not concerned about the split finger causing the kind of arm trouble that has plagued Suter recently.
It's a lot easier on my arm throwing that pitch than throwing sliders and curveballs, which I don't throw anymore. That's the same motion as my fastball, and that has the least stress on my arm when I throw a fastball. So last year I threw a lot more innings than I ever had in the past, and my arm felt better at the end of the year than it ever has.
The only people who don't feel good about the split finger are the men who have to make a living trying to solve the mystery with their bats.
As soon as somebody figures it out, I'll let you know.
It's an optical illusion.
Let's outlaw it. Let's outlaw it.
Well, here in Caesar's Palace, these are the odds on different teams winning the World Series. The Mets and the Yankees are the odds makers' favorites. They think a Subway Series is a real possibility. That may not include this week's news, of course. There's also plenty of action for bettors concerning Monday Night Super Fight, where marvelous Marvin Hagler remains a solid 3-1 favorite. But when we come back, I'm going to be joined by Gil Clancy, John Madden, and some special guests as we look ahead to that Hagler-Leonard showdown. Right now, though, we're just about a half hour away from our live championship bout between Carlos Santos and Donald Curry. And you see warming up here in his dressing room. We'll continue live from Las Vegas after this message and a word from your local station. Rounds of action in the USBA junior middleweight category. The champion Donald Curry defending against Carlos Santos, a former world champion. That fight upcoming here live on CBS Sports Saturday. Well, I've been joined by our colleague who will be involved in the commentary this afternoon and on the big fight on Monday night, Hagler and Leonard, Gil Clancy. And Gil, you had a trip down to Sugar Ray's camp, saw him at Hilton Head in South Carolina, and I'm wondering, now that you've seen him this week here in Las Vegas, any difference? What are your thoughts?
Well, Tim, I wasn't very impressed with Ray down in Hilton Head, but watching him here, he looked much stronger, much sharper, seems to be peaking right at the right time.
Well, everybody is interested to find out if that's the case. When you look back on Ray Leonard's career, you can understand perhaps why marvelous Marvin Hagler often seems so envious. As Gil found out when he visited Ray at a South Carolina training camp, everything seemed to come so naturally along Leonard's climb to the top.
He seemed like just another flashy amateur almost a decade ago. He's only 30 now, but entering the twilight. The smile and charm was Olympian. Today it's a fight against the hands of time. His most famous battle ended with no crunching punch, just the joy of having beaten the devil. It made him the most likable face in America. And his charisma still holds the crowd. But we wonder if he can show this type of punching power. Can he come back from the setbacks that some say have left him confused?
This is the only man can make that possible. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But unfortunately, it'll never happen. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Well, this is a happening. This is something that is going to change the history of boxing. Something's never been done before.
This has pressure on me. I don't necessarily feel that way because the expectation of everyone is the fact that Marvin Hagler is expected to win. He's expected to knock me out. He's a full-fledged middleweight. I'm a welterweight that's now become what they say a junior middleweight or a blown-up, out of proportion middleweight.
I trained Emil Griffith when he won the middleweight championship, and I agree with Ray's camp.
But right now, he's a solid middleweight. He's a solid middleweight. Like I said, I do know one thing, the fact that you want him in good condition.
Weight is not the big problem. He'll be a natural middleweight.
This is only the second fight Ray has had in 4.5 years. How much has he lost? It's always tough to tell until you get in the ring. It wasn't easy at first for Ray.
The first 2 weeks that we were down here, and we came down here third week in January, he probably wasn't the most pleasant guy to be around.
Don't have to push him to train. Loves to train. He's a happy fighter. Gets to the gym, he'll be smiling today. That's the best kind of fighter. My fella's the puncher in this fight. Sugar Ray Leonard will definitely be the banger in this fight. Going to stop Marvin Hagler, 8th, 9th, or 10th round.
The Leonard camp has read everything about Marvelous Marvin. It makes for a natural story, the smile versus the scowl.
They say he's losing. The fact that he's being hit more, and he's been beat up. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think he's been beat up at all. I think Marvin has always been victorious. I think he just happened to fight tough fights.
Marvin Hagler's got the problem. He won't find my fellow to be easy like the other guys were. He won't find Ray.
The brain trust includes Jacobs, Dundee, and Morton. They have tried everything psychological as well as physical to get Ray ready, including the strategy of how many rounds this fight should be.
Gil, the number of rounds was probably the most difficult part of the negotiations, believe it or not. 12 rounds was very important to us because it was very important to Mr. Hagler. Mr. Hagler had mentioned on more than one occasion that in the Duran fight it was even after 12 rounds. He needed the last 3 to pull it out. We wanted the 12 rounds because obviously from a strategic and a mental standpoint there's a little bit of edge there.
Angelo and I have worked together and against each other in the past, so I know a psych job when I hear it.
What I'm concerned about is the way Marvin Hagler keeps his trunks up to here. Every time you see Marvin Hagler fight, you can't see his belly button. Ray's a better-looking guy. He's going to put a bow tie on. It'll be up to his neck.
There will be no tuxedos on April 6th. It's Ray Leonard's grasp for glory that only he can measure.
Gil, that last close-up, the shot of Ray's eyes, still the subject of much discussion by the media, many of the fans here in Las Vegas, although the commission, Ray himself, his doctors all insist there is no further possible danger as a result of the surgery he's had. Of course, there could be a new injury, which could occur to anybody at any time. But you've been in many corners and many tight situations, seen many boxing injuries. What are your thoughts on this particular situation?
Well, Tim, years ago when a fighter got a detached retina, he was finished. But now with the advent of laser beam surgery, things have changed. Doctors will tell you that once they reattach your retina with the laser beam, it's better than new. Now, Ray has been examined by 4 different ophthalmologists, including one from Lloyd's of London. They've all given him a clean bill of health. I don't think the eye's a factor.
Ray would like it to not be a factor, and he'd like everybody to just forget about it, but of course it'll still be on people's minds when the fight begins. Well, coming up momentarily, our John Madden has a visit with marvelous Marvin Hagler. I think you're going to find tremendously entertaining and informative. He's a big fight fan, and we'll learn more about Marvin from John in a moment. Madden is a great football expert, and I don't know how many of you know that he's a very knowledgeable boxing fan. John, I know that marvelous Marvin Hagler has been a particular favorite of yours over the years.
You know, I think of all the guys in sports, I think I respect marvelous Marvin Hagler as much as anyone. And, you know, you pick all Madden teams and the type of guy that you would like to have and coach, and that's the type of guy Hagler, I mean, that dedicated guy, the sacrifice, the blue collar, the lunch pail guy, the guy that had to work hard and pull himself up, and I've always respected that. I mean, he's a self-made man who kind of epitomizes all that hard work type guy.
I can see him on an all-Madden team. And in contrast to Sugar Ray Leonard's success, the saga of Marvin Hagler started when his career outlook was anything but marvelous. And as John reports, even when it seemed that at long last he'd get that chance to settle the score with Leonard, he was made to feel like the odd man out.
As far as Leonard and Hearns is concerned, I'm not thinking about them at the moment right now. What I am really feeling and thinking right now is that I am seriously thinking about, again, retiring from the boxing game.
I tell you, he's been retiring off and on for the last 3 or 4 years. Then that challenge comes up.
Well, I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied. And maybe with this fight, it could be a possibility that I can be satisfied. And then that could be it. Then that can be it, but I'm not taking it that way because I don't want to slack up at none of the sense. I want to keep going until I'm done.
That never-ending hunger has been there throughout Hagler's career. And it surfaced again as he prepared for the Leonard fight with the motto he adopted, no mercy.
No mercy is, I took that on in the beginning, and I don't know, for some reason, that's what I felt that this fight's all about, Marvin, no mercy. Just go out there and just take this guy apart.
Are you concerned about his eye?
Leonard had a legit excuse to get away from the game of boxing and still come out smelling. Why go out of the game on your back or whatever like that? And this is the way that I'm planning on him going. I'm planning on stretching him. I'm planning on hurting him. If I don't knock him out, he's going to take a lot of damage.
The past few years have been good for Hagler. There's been commercial endorsements as well as an increase in his recognition and popularity. the specter of Leonard hovered over him. For Leonard seemed to obtain with ease and grace all that Hagler had to struggle and sacrifice for. And so, simply put, Hagler just doesn't like the guy.
I think he's an imitation, really. He's an imitation of Muhammad Ali. He don't even really know who he is. He's even copycatted the name Sugar. The real Sugar Ray is, you know, Sugar Ray Robinson. You know, who is Ray Leonard? I'm planning on drilling a hole into that body so I find Ray Leonard.
Well, who do you think he is?
I don't think he knows who he is. He's been caught up in a trap like that because of everybody called him Sugar Ray and all that stuff and whatever. I think he's caught up in his own self. You know, again, that comes with probably an ego type of thing. I think he's on the ego trip, no doubt about it.
As you get ready for this fight, are you concerned about your place in history?
It's not that I'm really looking for that. I'm looking for my glory. I think what happens is that I thought I was going to get it with Thomas Hearns. I thought I was going to finally get it with Roberto Duran and beating a guy like Mugabe. I thought I'd prove myself to the world that I can take on the boxes, take on the punches, take on any type of style that is out there. But yet there's still doubt in the public's eye. Not in the public, but in the boxing world. I have to maintain a certain image about myself. I can't go blowing off telling everybody I am the best, I am the greatest, and all this stuff. That's not my style. But I have to prove it once again. And I think that that with Leonard, getting him out the way, I think that would finally do it for me. I can finally, hopefully, I'll find the satisfaction that I've been looking for and the glory.
To ensure that glory, Hagler's worked longer and harder than ever for this fight. When you train in the mirror and you're watching yourself then, what do you think then?
A lot of times when I stop and I stare in that mirror once in a while, I would hate to be fighting that guy on the other side of that mirror.
Do you have any predictions, any feeling that you have of how it'll go?
Yeah, I see me knocking him out. I see me a tough battle. I'm anticipating a very hard fight. There's no way I'm underestimating Leonard at all.
How about the judges here in Las Vegas?
Well, you know, that I can't help too much, so that's why I bring my own judges with me. And my referee. This is K, this is O. What the people really want to see, John, and I actually believe this, they only love knockouts and blood. And that's what makes a fight like this. And with that type of money that's going into this fight, there won't be no love. You better forget that. There's no love in this fight.
Can Hagler lose? Maybe. But if Leonard's corner is banking on Hagler being as conservative as he appeared in the Duran fight, they might be in for a big surprise.
Watching the Duran fight that Leonard was commentating on that fight, and there was things in that Duran fight that he saw that they'll be materializing on. But there's also things in that fight that I saw and Pat saw also that we've corrected. And if they're basing it solely on that, they get a rude awakening coming.
People feel as though they can whoop me or whatever. It motivates me. No matter what he does, no matter what he says, Leonard is standing in my way to what I want to achieve. And then there's only one way to do it, and that's to eliminate him.
Marvelous, Marvin. Now, John, you said you could probably find a spot for him on your all-Madden team. Maybe he would have made one of those great Oakland Raiders teams of yours.
Well, you know, that's kind of how I picked the all-Madden team. You think of the guys that you would have liked to have coached. And last week, we just had a reunion of the Super Bowl 11 team. It was the 10th year, and I was thinking that Hagler would have fit in there perfectly. And I would have put him in the secondary. You know, you can play 11, 12, whatever you want. But I would have had 3 safeties instead of 2. I would have had Tatum, Atkinson, and Hagler.
Oh, ouch.
And then say, come on, let's go.
Yeah, I can picture that group. That'd be fantastic. Well, thank you, John. Wait a minute now. How about a pick? And everybody wants to know who you like.
Hagler.
Hagler, done. Firm, as always. All right, John. When we come back, Thomas Hearns will join us along with some other special guests as we continue on CBS Sports Saturday, live from the boxing action in Las Vegas, after this message and a word from your local station. We're live from Las Vegas on CBS Sports Saturday, and the undercard underway for our championship action upcoming. It'll be Donald Curry against Carlos Santos, and there is the former IBF world champion. He is the challenger for the USBA title today, 34-3, and very ready, I can promise you that. He'll take on Donald Curry. Well, now we have a very distinguished group of people to have what I like to call maybe a little hot stove league here, a discussion of the big fight on Monday night. We've been joined by Arthur Mercanti, a veteran referee on my immediate right, who has been involved in many championship bouts and is considered one of the very great experts about the art of refereeing, and an art it is indeed. Representing the media, next to Arthur, one of 1,100 media covering the bout, and a man who can tell us about the impact of this fight in Europe and around the rest of the world is Hugh McIlvaney, very respected boxing writer from the London Observer. And next to him, the light heavyweight champion, WBC version, wants that middleweight crown to make it 4 in his incredible career, Thomas Hearns. And our own Gil Clancy down on the far end of this group. Well, gentlemen, let's start with you, Arthur, because I think the fact that Richard Steele has been named the referee for this bout naturally raises some discussion. Everybody wants to know who's the referee going to be and what effect might he have on the fight. What's your impression about Richard Steele?
Well, I kind of think that he is an excellent referee, and I kind of think he won't be intimidated by a cut. He won't be intimidated by an injury. I think he will let it go on. I think he'll be a very, very fair official in the ring tonight.
Tommy Hearns, maybe
tonight. I'm sorry. I mean
Monday night. That's all right. Tommy Hearns. I think fighters certainly have a lot of impressions about officials. You're familiar with Richard Steele. How do you feel about his choice?
Well, I think that Richard Steele is a very knowledgeable referee. He seems to does his work really well. I'm very impressed on how well he does his work. I think that along with Arthur McKinney and Richard Steele, I think they are two of the greatest referees in the world.
Gil, does it matter who the referee selection was for this fight?
Well, I think the problem with the referee in this fight, and I'd like Arthur to answer that question, the fact that Ray Leonard had this eye injury and it's been publicized so much, do you think that the referee will be taking an extra careful look at Ray Leonard's eye?
Well, I think that he would be concerned about it, but I think that Sugar Ray is going to be more concerned about it because there's a fear factor there. Basically, inwardly, he must have a fear that he will be hit there, and that will definitely affect his performance in the fight. It's like a basketball player going into the game who has an injured knee. He's going to be overly protective of that knee, and that will affect his performance.
Hugh McIlvaney, you represent, here on this program at least, 1,100 of the media have been assembled here, and we were chatting the other day about the tremendous impact this fight has had on the sporting community in Europe. When's the last time you saw as many of your colleagues coming across for a big fight?
I don't think I've ever seen quite as many reporters assembled for a fight. We've seen more reporters and broadcasters at the Olympics and some big events, but this must be just about a record for a fight. I must say, I think it's something of an unnatural phenomenon because I don't really believe in the fight too much, I must tell you.
In what respect?
Well, I think that although boxing's an unstructured sport and we know that money is the real matchmaker, I think it's basically ludicrous that Sugar Ray should be able to come back after one fight, 9 very unimpressive rounds in more than 5 years, step into a world championship fight. It's as if Jon Borg decided to come back to tennis and got a buy-in to the Wimbledon final and got 11 million for turning up. You know, we all love Sugar Ray, he was a great man, but I think what is being said about him now relates mainly to what he was. I think he is more memory than substance.
Well, Tommy Hearns, you must have some feelings about what Hugh just said.
I agree with Hugh. I think that's very important. I think that Ray should not have been granted the chance to come back and just he should have been granted the chance to come back, but not the chance to step right back in with the championship for a championship fight. I think that he should have had to go through some elimination, at least 1 or 2 fights, to prove to the world that he still has it, that he still wants to do it.
Yep.
Well, Tommy, you say you don't think that Ray Leonard should be in this situation, in this fight, yet you're picking him to win the fight.
Well, only because I know that's what his ability is about, Gil. I've been in there with both men. I know that Ray Leonard has the ability to get in there and box and does it well. He does a very good job of boxing. And then I know what Marvin Hagler's style is like. Marvin Hagler is the stalker. He's going to stalk you until he can get in good enough to get some good shots off.
You know, I think that Ray Leonard won the first battle, the first psychological battle, by getting Hagler to accept a 12-round fight. He only has to concentrate for 36 minutes instead of 45. That could be an important factor.
Do you think that the Ray Leonard you saw in the gym the other day, Gil, is remotely like the Ray Leonard we all admired so much when he fought Mr. Hearns, for example?
The public is going to see a completely different Sugar Ray Leonard. He's no longer a welterweight. His body, he has matured. He looks very, very strong physically, but he no longer makes the moves. He doesn't have the legs. I think this is going to be a war. He told me in an interview, he says, I'm going to keep Marvin Hagler within punching range.
I think he can win a war.
Well, he said, I'm going to keep Marvin Hagler within punching range. I said, if he's in punching range, you're going to be in punching range. So it's going to be a punch-up.
Gil, that's what we're all waiting to see, whether it is the case on Monday night. But one of the major issues, in fact, two of the major issues in this super fight build-up concern the contrasting styles of Leonard and Hagler and to the strains of the national anthem. We'll find out about that, as well as their personalities. Yesterday, in their final pre-fight interviews, I asked each fighter about his feelings toward his opponent.
I think the personal side would come from him. You know, I think because basically he's on an ego trip, he's probably a little jealous of the way I've been looking. You know, he should be on the other side sitting where you're sitting at still. But after I finish with him, I don't think he's going to have a job anymore.
I'm not beating the individual. I'm beating his persona. I'm beating Hagler, the invincible. I'm beating Hagler, the guy's impervious to pain. I'm beating a great and true middleweight champion.
And let's see who hits harder. It's not the point of who hits harder. It's what you got behind the punch. And I feel as though in the long run, fine. Let him come out and try to blow me out of there, because I believe that's what he's going to try to do. He's going to try to, most likely, show me his strength. I'm bigger, I'm badder, I hit harder. And I'm going to say, fine. I love it. Ooh, I love it.
The key is being one step ahead of him, hitting him twice to his one time. He said something that gave me an indication that he's willing to come in and take punches. He said, well, I'll be willing to go inside to take a few punches to get my bomb in. If that's what he's thinking, fine. But decision, I'll take it however it comes, Tim.